Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my channel and I am Mehreen. Today we are going to discuss George Eliot as a Victorian of modern outlook. George Eliot is a Victorian novelist, but in more ways than one, she is a pioneer of the modern novel. Her modernity lay in the high conception she had of her art, her conviction that the novel was a serious form of writing not meant merely for entertainment, and above all, her superb analysis of the human psyche in her novels. George Eliot changed the very spirit behind the novel. She did not consider it as mere entertainment for the middle class reading public. She thought it a fit vehicle to explore ideas, religious, political, or philosophical. She widened the scope of novel intellectually. And thus her novels look forward to modern works. George Eliot sees man in relation to his own private ideals, not just in relation to society, and she sees both him and society in relation to what she considered the ideals of absolute truth and goodness. How shall Maggie ever satisfy her yearnings for spiritual satisfaction? Does Middlemarch provide scope for human character to develop itself to its highest capacity? It is in reference to these questions that George Eliot makes her judgments. George Eliot is an intellectual writer. Unlike the typical Victorian novelists, her mind was active and keen. Experience led it immediately and instinctively to analyze and generalize and discover why and how things happened. She had a vision of human society as the expression of certain principles. While none of her characters are flat, they are all the same, representative of types of human characters. There may be Victorian elements in her novels, but these elements have a different importance for her. The theme of Middlemarch may involve an elaborate description of the social scene, but the description is not her chief interest in writing the story. The farm life in Adam Bede is not merely landscape painting, it is there to provide an occasion for telling the story. The St. Ogg's social scene in the middle of the floss is described to bring home to reader the conflict between the individual and society, and within the individual's mind. George Eliot's novels are not remarkable just for being constructed around an idea. But George Eliot is an innovator in her very subject matter, with her massive thinking capacity and intellectual power. Hence, she infused a new life to novel. She saw her characters as thinkers, as politicians, and as souls full of conflict. Felix Holt may be a lover, like David Copperfield, but he is also a radical. Dina Morris is a gentle, virtuous girl like Laura Pendennis, but she is also a strong evangelical, and this gives a special side to her virtue. Maggie Tulliver is an ugly duckling, transformed into a beauty, but she is also a soul torn in conflict between duty and desire. George Eliot's novels are concerned not just with human beings or the social scenes, but with human conditions itself. George Eliot's modern outlook is seen in her break with conventions. It made her use the plot as a logical development of her ideas, and she began with an idea of character or a situation. Her stories end tragically because she saw life with a tragic vision. No happy ending is imposed upon her novels. whether this is The Mill and the Flaws, The Middlemarch, or Adam Bede. Her unconventionality extended to her characterization. In Amos Barton, she chose as a hero not a handsome young man, but a middle-aged, unattractive, married clergyman. In Silas Marner, the chief personage is an elderly bachelor. Middlemarch has no particular hero or heroine but divides its interests between separate groups of characters. Action and character in her novels are closely interrelated, thus inevitably omitting those conventional Victorian plot devices such as lost wills, sudden inheritances, coincidences, etc. The laws conditioning George Eliot's novels are the same as those that condition the work of Henry James Conrad and Arnold Bennett. Her novels are the first examples in English of the mature structure. George Eliot's particular contribution to the English novel is the psychological realism she brings to her writings. Her novels are of moral conflict, analyzing the motives, impulses, and mental processes which prompt a human being to act in the way or she does. Her power of drawing conclusions gave her a sharp eye for symptoms of moral strength and weaknesses. It told her, the psychological reasoning told her that a man of Dr. Lydgate's type did not take trouble with an ugly woman, and a girl like Hattie always avoided being left to look after children. She could present subtle shades of the same characteristics. The result of her psychological probing is that we may not see her characters as well as we can see Dickens' Pickwick, but we understand them. With her superb command over the inner life of man, George Eliot, for the first time in English fiction, delineate complex personalities who have contradictory forces within them. We are not surprised that a man so anxious for the good opinion of others as Arthur Donington in Adam Bede should selfishly seduce Hattie Sorrel. We realize that controlling forces in his character is a desire for immediate enjoyment. George Eliot is particularly good at showing how temptation triumphs, and she had done this many times. She is the first, perhaps the only English novelist to give such a vivid picture of moral defeat. Donington's gradual yielding to his passion for Hattie. Maggie delivers reluctantly but passively, being borne on the tide of her sensual feelings for Stephen Guest. These are the vivid examples of this defeat. George Eliot can analyze the moral chaos which takes possession of the human mind after a wrong has been committed. The guilt-ridden conscience of Arthur Donington in Adam Bede is analyzed with rare penetration and insight. Critics may contend as to who actually was the first modern novelist in English. However, there is no denying the fact that George Eliot was a pioneer in many respects, especially in regarding the novel as a serious form of writing. And finally, if you ask about my opinion, I would dare to say that George Eliot was a victorianist. This is a term which I have discovered recently. She was a victorianist but a modernist as well. We may say that she was a modernist born in Victorian era. I hope you would find this video enjoyable and helpful. Being an English literature lover, I always find George Eliot worth reading. Do you also have the same feelings? Do write me in the comment box, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Thanks for being with Mehreen for such a long time.